Alrighty, well, good afternoon. Thank you everybody for joining us, but we are all set to go. Before I turn it over to our Master of Ceremonies, Cindy, I just wanted to go over a few things with you. First and foremost, please, if you have any questions, please submit them using the questions box in the GoToWebinar dashboard. We'll be happy to answer them for you. For those of you maybe who are new to GoToWebinar, this is what your dashboard should look like if you're using a desktop or a laptop. If you're using the GoToWebinar mobile device, depending on your device, it is going to look different, but I assure you all of the features will still be there. In this first section here, you have your audio section. So that's a way to make sure that you want to be connected to your computer audio, and you want to make sure that either the speakers that you are using to listen are listed here appropriately. And if you have multiple audio devices, you can certainly switch between them. As I mentioned before, questions, there'll be questions here. You can just type it in this box here, hit send, and we'll be happy to answer that for you. At any point, if you're having any problems, you can use the raise hand button here. That'll alert me. I will send you a message, and hopefully we'll be able to solve any problems that you are having. So that is all that I have for you. So it's my pleasure to turn it over to Cindy for the proper introduction.
Well, I'm glad you trust me for the proper introduction, and I want to welcome everybody in today on this just into summer. So it's our first talk of summer 2021, and happy summer to you. Today we're going to be going on a journey. We don't even have to move from our couches, but we're going to get to find out about many of New Jersey's interesting places, and we're going to be introduced to colorful characters who live and work here. Now, I also have to do my little ad thing because we have some great stuff on our website, events that are coming up. On June 29th, I'm going to warn you ahead of time, I do not have a list, but on June 29th from noon to 1 p.m., we have a webinar on copyright myth conceptions, you know, like it was a myth. So they did a little wordplay there. So copyright myth conceptions, that's with legal genealogist Judy Russell, and she's going to provide expert guidance through the murky territory where law and family history intersect. So visit the website to register, or maybe you'll see that you can't go on that day. And I just want to reiterate again that our programs, a lot of them have recaps. So you can go onto our blogs on the website and visit recaps, and you'll find some of those programs. If you prefer to listen and watch, then a lot of our programs, most of them, are recorded, and you can visit the New Jersey State Library YouTube channel. And our author today, Peter Genovese, has graciously allowed us to tape this, and we're going to be having this up on our YouTube channel. I guess it's not taped anymore, but digitally recorded. I just told my age. Oh, it's all right. Next month, our speaker is award-winning journalist John Hall. If you were with us last year, he actually did our first virtual author talk, and he did it for his book, Dishing Up New Jersey. This year, he's going to be talking about the history of craft beer, and he'll give us a guided tasting through the world of craft beer with interesting facts, colorful stories, and a look at why beer matters. He's also going to include the basics of food pairing and the wonderful combinations that can be made. So I hope you'll join us then on July 13th for that talk. For now, let's head into today's program with speaker Peter Genovese. Peter is a food and features writer for NewJersey.com and the Star Ledger. Many of you may have read him. He covers the entire state food-wise, and his lists, rankings of the best pizzerias, sandwiches, ice cream, tacos, barbecue, I'm getting hungry, folks, burgers, etc. are popular. Now I got to go get some lunch. A native of Trenton, he is the author of 12 books, including Jersey Diners, The Jersey Shore Uncovered, a revealing season on the beach, The Great American Road Trip, US 1, Maine to Florida, The Food Lover's Guide to New Jersey, Pizza City, the ultimate guide to New York's favorite food, and now his latest book, New Jersey State of Mind. So please welcome with me, Peter Genovese.
Hey, Cindy, thanks. It's good to hear John Hall. I will tune into that one if I can. John knows his beer. You know, we worked together a long time ago. But again, happy for the invitation. Happy to talk New Jersey, my favorite subject, and food, because I'm sure a lot of the questions will be about food. But I'll talk a little bit about myself. I won't have to run down all the books because Cindy just did that. But my latest book was called New Jersey State of Mind. It's really, it was sort of a takeoff of a series we did in the Star Ledger about 15 years ago called Jersey State of Mind. And it was the reporters in the feature section, there were 3 or 4 of us. We sort of wandered around the state, just looking for good human interest stories that would, with a strong sense of place, that would really Jersey people, Jersey settings, and that really strong sense of place that really was the defining term for that series, Jersey State of Mind. So when it came time to write a book number 12, I suggested to Rutgers University Press, which has done most of my books, can we do sort of a takeoff on this series that we did in the Star Ledger? They said yes, and it turned out really well. I spent a couple months just wandering around the state. You know, I'm a reporter, so finding stories wasn't the hard part. Finding good stories and good stories that would sort of illuminate what the state was all about was a bit challenge. And getting people to talk is never a problem. A lot of people I approached just sort of walked up to them. that always works. It's harder for them to turn you down. But of course, a lot of interviews you have to set up in advance. But in the introduction, if you have the book, and I strongly, if you don't have the book, what's wrong with you? It's really, as I say in the introduction, for New Jerseyans, I think it'll tell you a lot about the state you didn't already know. If you think you know the state, read this book. It will take you to the corners of the state I promise you've never been. And if you don't know anything about New Jersey, I think it's a great introduction. This is what, as I say in the introduction, this is what we're all about. You know, I talked to, food truck owners, people who live in a trailer park, Meadowlands, the natural area, not the Meadowlands Sports Complex, the Storybook Land down in South Jersey, the people who run the Turnpike and Parkway, the control center for Turnpike, all those signs you see as you're driving down the Parkway, they're all the traffic on both highways is monitored in a center in Woodbridge, right off Route 9. So I spent a night there. Cranberry Farms. I did a story on Camden, which gets no respect. There's a lot of great food in Camden and things to do. Spent a day in the Pine Barrens in a canoe. So it's also a female craft brewer. Went to High Point State Park, highest point in New Jersey, obviously. And so that came, that was my book, New Jersey State of Mind. Now my next book number 13, hopefully it's a lucky number. I can't say what it is because it's not finalized yet, but I just talked to actually my publisher over at Rutgers a few minutes ago. I said, let me get started on this book. So that'll be number 13 if that comes about. Books are my first book. Well, my second book actually was my best known book, Jersey Diners, which I think has outsold all the other 11 books combined. It came out in the mid-90s. It still sells. Again, another Rutgers University Press book. It came at the right time. There was a lot of interest in it. There's always been interest in diners. Jersey is the diner state, diner capital of the world. We have more diners than anywhere else. But it came at the right time, mid-90s. There was a sort of resurgence of interest in diners. So it sold like gangbusters right at the beginning. And again, it still sells. It's in a paperback edition. And I'll do a shameless author pitch. All my Rutgers University books you can buy right now, 50% off if you go online, Rutgers University Press. They just announced it yesterday. So 50% off and free shipping. So that's about 6 or 7 of my books, the Diner book, the Jersey Shore book, the New Jersey State of Mind book, the New York City Pizza book, all those 50% off if you don't have a copy. So now's a great time. I'm not sure how long that sale goes, but I would get on it fairly soon. So that's what, and as Cindy mentioned, quickly about myself, I'm a food and features writer for NJ.com and the Star Ledger. It's mostly for the last 5 years, it's been about 80% food and 20% everything else. But I do still write a lot about Jersey. I did a ranking a couple weeks ago, got the 25 best Jersey Shore towns ranked. The number one town is one I bet many people listening even right now probably have never heard of, but it came out to be my number one. I've done stories on the best scenic spots, secret Jersey Shore spots. That was just a couple weeks ago. But again, a lot of it's food. Best Donuts was a couple weeks ago. I'm working on the best ice cream stands in the state. That's a collaboration with the other food writer, Jeremy Schneider. That's going to go next weekend. So we're going to rank like the top 50 ice cream stands. So if you have recommendations, and now's your time to throw it in, or you can always email me, best barbecue. And again, as Cindy mentioned, I did a story on hot sauce makers. As Cindy mentioned, I cover the whole state food-wise. No one else really comes close to doing that. I was in Salem County a couple of days ago. I was in Sussex County and Warren County over the weekend. So no one really covers the state food-wise, top to bottom. And I think, and as soon as actually, once this is over, I'm doing a story on the best boardwalk food, which I did a couple of years ago. I'm going to update it. So I'm going to get up to Seaside and then down to Wildwood to hit some places I haven't been to add to that list again, which came out 2 years ago. The 40 best boardwalk foods. They're really, a lot of boardwalk food is pretty icky, but there's some good stuff if you know where to find it. So again, as soon as we're done here, I'm gonna jump in the car and Seaside and Wildwood and see if I can find some new places to put on that list. So I think I've talked enough. I don't see any questions right now, but feel free to jump in with questions. I know you're going to ask me about food and who has the best pizza and all of that, but I'll give the best answers I can. Let's talk, ice cream. Again, Jeremy Schneider and I are doing the ice cream post next weekend, probably next Friday. I'm going to hit some places over the weekend. I like to say my stomach never rests. If you're going to do this food ranking and food coverage, you need to be comprehensive. I mean, I could just sit at home and come up with 40 best ice cream places drawn on past experience, but that's sort of cheating in my book. The boardwalk food, I could just rerun what was listed, what we published 2 years ago, but I want to keep it fresh. All my food lists and rankings are always updated. So I'm always going out to new places or places I haven't visited before to see if they can get on the list. So I don't just sit at home and just sort of recycle old stuff. That's a lot of the web content you see these days are just sort of, it's crowdfunded, recycled stuff that you can find anywhere. And they're, a lot of times they're copying off my list. That's okay. The imitation's the best form of flattery, I guess. But we see we have a question. Okay. Should there be video? Someone's asking, should there be video beyond just the cover slide, or is this all audio? That's a good question. I don't see, Cindy, are you there?
Yeah, I answered it.
Oh, you did, okay. We have more questions. How long is it? Hour's lunch break, an hour's lunch break, that's a lot. But yeah, we will go an hour. So, but again, if you have, please ask questions. Boardwalk food, let's talk boardwalk food. I mean, to me, boardwalk lemonade is like just about the most vile beverage on earth. I mean, it's just, maybe vile is too strong a word, but it's just like it's water. Those lemons have been sitting in those cups in the sun for like who knows how long, and the water is they just dump water on it, level ice, and yeesh. But actually, my boardwalk food ranking, again, you'll see that in the next couple of days. There are actually 2 places that have really good lemonade on the Jersey boardwalks. That's Pucker in Asbury Park, which is a great name for a lemonade stand, and Bob's Lemonade in Ocean City. And they are so far beyond what normal boardwalk lemonade is. They're in their own category. So you'll see that on my list of best boardwalk food. And there's a lot of, there's good cheesesteaks, pizza. Actually, speaking of pizza, there's going to be, I'm going to do in a couple of weeks probably, I'm going to sample every boardwalk pizzeria, every slice on the boardwalk, and rank them. So that should be fun because and I can tell you from experience and probably from your experience too, that there's a lot of bad boardwalk pizza in Jersey boardwalks. And I have a couple favorites, but we'll see who ends up. So I'm gonna visit every single one, all the boardwalks, Point Pleasant, Seaside, Wildwood, Ocean City, did I mention Point Pleasant? Yeah, and see who ends up the best. Questions? We have more questions? Again, feel free, any food questions, I'm here. Best jelly in South Jersey, I would say, oh, here we go. Haddonfield Donut Company in Haddonfield, which is one of my favorite towns in the state. I did a ranking of small towns earlier this year, and they were, I think, top 5. So the Haddonfield Donut Company, really good jelly donuts. My favorite jelly donut overall is probably at the Plainfield Donut Shop in Plainfield, up in central North Jersey. But South Jersey, Haddonfield Donut Company. First of all, what's your biggest surprises, both good and bad? Well, I don't usually, as far as bad, I don't overly criticize really anyone. I'm very active on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter at Pete Genovese, people, I will say something like, okay, this is the worst barbecue I've ever had, and someone will say, okay, where was it? And then I'll stop there, because I don't want to publicly shame anyone, especially if it's really bad food. And that was the case last summer. I walked from Sandy Hook to Cape May, walked almost all the way and wrote about it. You might have seen that story. And I had pretty much the worst barbecue of my life in a Atlantic City casino where I stayed. Again, I didn't mention the casino, but actually a lot of people figured it out on Twitter. They had previous experiences there, and it was just awful. So again, I don't do bad. I will say, again, general, this is the worst lemonade I've ever had. This is the worst barbecue I ever had, but I won't name the place. Biggest surprises, we go back to boardwalk food. There's a lot of, again, it gets no respect. It's overpriced, underwhelming. We've all probably had experiences with boardwalk food, but there's really good boardwalk food, and that's one of the surprises when I come upon a place that I haven't heard much about, or maybe you've got negative reviews, or someone says stay away from, and I've had actually a good meal. I'm like, well, wow, that's great. Because sometimes you just have to sort of jump in the deep end of the pool and try a place. Forget about Yelp. I don't trust Yelp to tell me the time of day, but a lot of people use it, so it's there. But sometimes just ignore the ratings, ignore the Facebook likes, and just walk up to just try a place. Maybe just depend on a friend's recommendation rather than the Yelp rating, or just try it. Sense of adventure. I think that's what makes a lot of great food moments, is that trying a place you didn't think much of or didn't expect much of, and you have a great meal. I'm like, whoa, maybe I should do this more often. So sometimes, those surprises are best encountered when you have know nothing about a place. Again, Yelp. You just heard my opinion of it. I would just try. To me, if somebody asked me, okay, where's the best food in this city, this state, whatever, go to the local food writer. They know best. Go to that guy from NJ.com who drives all over New Jersey looking for good foods. I'm sure there are people like me in others, in the Carolinas, in California, in Washington, in Idaho. Go to the local food writers. They know best. They have no horse in the race. They should pay for their food. They're not beholden to anyone. They're the best people to contact. Contact them first. There's people like me all over the country, and if you're depending on Yelp for this, I can't say anything. It's just Yelp. A lot of times Yelp is, the people they've done studies on this, where a lot of the people with the positive ratings are coming from friends and the owners, and the negative ratings are coming from the competition. So, I'm not saying most of the things you see on Yelp are like that, but there's a good amount of, because you can be anybody on Yelp. You don't have to tell people who you are. So I would use those with use Yelp ratings with the proverbial grain of salt. Who's the most famous person you've ever just ran into, I guess you mean? Bumped into. Okay. Most famous person. A long time, again, I don't do, so I've almost never have written about sort of municipal town politics or state house or crime or anything like that. So, I'm, again, the last 5 years, I'm the food guy, so I'm not really bumping into anyone famous. Although, well, I'll give you a couple of people. A long time ago, I did a one-on-one interview with Jesse Jackson when he was just not even a name, well, about to be a name, and about to run for president. So that was kind of cool. Last year, I did more recently an interview with the food celebrity Bobby Flay. So 5 years ago, we did this statewide Best Diner Showdown. I went to 50 diners all over the state and picked the 10 best, and then went back to visit those 10 and then picked a winner. And the winner was Broad Street Diner in Keyport. So we call that the best diner in the state. So Bobby Flay hears about this, and he comes in a few months later. He does one of his Sunday morning CBS shows on diners in general, but he did a sit down at the Broad Street Diner. He invited me, which was kind of a neat twist. He invited me to be his guest to talk about the diner. And then so he's a cool guy. And then I did a video with him, and he was gracious enough to do that on the Periscope. So that was neat. Talk about the impact on New Jersey restaurants. Well, I mean, if you've read our, Jeremy Schneider, again, he's done a lot of stories in the last year on the impact on the pandemic's impact on the restaurant scene. Restaurants, dozens of restaurants around the state closed. We've had a couple posts on just sort of cataloging all the restaurants that have closed, and some well-known ones, some mom and pop places, some bigger places. And then the biggest problem now is restaurants, not just in New Jersey, around the country, are having trouble hiring people because there are people who are either moved to other jobs or they're unemployment. They make more in unemployment than they might make on a low-paying restaurant job. So there's all sorts of struggles the restaurants are still having, even though, again, the pandemic we've kind of controlled it health-wise, at least in this country, in this state. There's a serious, the restaurant industry from day one, and pandemic last March, they've suffered as much as anyone economically, and they're still having issues. What criteria do you use for ranking boardwalk food? Well, a lot of people think that I have some sort of complicated rating system, 1 to 10. No, I write down, if you'd see on video, I have a battered old notebook that I just take notes in. I'm at a place. Let me back up. I almost never sit down in a restaurant. I take out, because first of all, it would just take too much time. If I sat down, I can only cover maybe three restaurants, and it just takes too much time. So I order food, take it out, eat it immediately in my car. All the photos you might see on Twitter, they're taken from my food is on the passenger seat, just sitting there up on the dashboard. So I use the notes. Is it good, bad? I'm not using those words, but this is great. This is the best, whatever. This is not so good. They could have done this better. They could have done that better. And then when I go back to do say it's a ranking of best ice cream, I go back to the notes and sort of figure out who's better. Where do I slot this place, and where do I slot that place? So again, using the notes. I'm a reporter, and I just use the notes. But again, there's no scoring system. There's no 1 to 10. There's no anything else. I don't use and it's just my opinion. It's not anybody else. I don't depend on anyone else. And again, boardwalk food. And again, I'm going today, this afternoon. And again, take notes, places I haven't been to, and just sort of take it. And always take photos, because the photos sometimes when you several hours later or a day later, you can use the photo sort of refresh. Oh yeah, I had that, and oh yeah, I remember that was pretty good. So the photos and the notes both sort of use both of those to come up with the ranking. Somebody tried the Keyport Diner on my good. I hope you had a good meal. Somebody, okay. I love all your lists and I've tried many. Good, thanks, Laverne. Again, if you have any questions about anyone in particular, any of those rankings or lists, or you want to take an opportunity to talk about your favorite places, go ahead. Speak a little about the Pine Barrens. Well, you know, it takes up what, 1/3 of New Jersey. It's a huge chunk of place, and I open space, woods, forests, streams. And I've said this many times. I could probably go interview 10 people on the street and ask how many of them have actually been in the Pine Barrens, not just driven through the Pine Barrens on Route 70 or Route 206, but actually spent like a night camping in a cabin, whatever, taking a hike, kayak. And I would bet maybe 2 of those 10 people would say, "Oh yeah, I've done that." So it's this great, still, you know, still obvious, big spot on the map that a lot of New Jerseyans have never really explored. And I probably count myself in that too. You know, I spent a night in the Pine Barrens about 10 years ago in the winter camping in a tent, which is funny, and I wrote about it. You know, I've done some hikes for the Jersey State of Mind book. I devoted a chapter to the folks at Pinelands Adventures in Chemong, which is in Burlington County. They runs really cool Pine Barrens trips, you know, hikes and naturalist programs and canoes and kayaks. So if you want a good place, sort of a guided tour, they're great to talk to visit. Pinelands Adventures in Chemong, which is one of my favorite sounding New Jersey towns, Chemong. Okay, let's see if we have more questions. All right, what can we talk about? Well, ice cream. Does anybody, I'm sure people have favorite ice cream places. Let's hear about your favorite ice cream stands or shops. I mean, some of mine, I did a story last year of my like 40 best. I didn't rank them, but that's what we're going to do next weekend. Jeremy and I were going to rank top 40. It's tough. We have like 60 on the list already, so we've got to narrow them down. Plus, I hope to get to some places over the weekend, some newer places. We're going into good paddling. No, I have not ranked. I have not ranked paddling sites. Michael Warren, one of our reporters, he's done. I think he's done those, so you might want to look him up. Mike Warren, he's done a lot of sort of outdoorsy stuff, and I'm pretty sure he's done things on canoeing and kayaking. A question on Ums and Burns. Yes, I've written about them. They were. It's a great place. It's Ice Cream Parlor, Burlington City. Homemade sweet cherry. I haven't tried the sweet cherry Bordeaux, but they were one. We did an ice cream showdown 5-6 years ago, and they were one of our semi-finalists. And they're also one of the. If anyone lives in South Jersey, in on this, listening to this, they are a great place to get Boost, which is, I'm sure a lot of you haven't heard of it. It's a beverage known pretty much in Camden and Burlington counties only. You're not going to find anyone who's heard of it north of New Brunswick. So it's sort of like a lemony cola. You can get it as a fountain drink at Ums, and they also make like a slushy out of it. Or you can buy the big gallon jugs of it and mix it yourself. So it's sort of like a syrup, basically. You mix it 3 parts to 3 parts water to 1 part Boost, or 4 parts water to 1 part Boost. If you want it stronger, 3 parts water to 1 part Boost. So again, it's like a lemony cola. It's Boost with an exclamation point, not to be confused. I think Nestle makes Boost like an energy drink. That's not that. This is Boost with the exclamation point, and it's only made in New Jersey. The company is headquartered in Riverside, along the Delaware River. So yeah, and Ums is a great old fashioned. Apart from getting really good ice cream and a place you can get Boost, it's just a great old fashioned ice cream parlor right on the main drag. Favorite burger places, seafood places. Well, okay. Well, I go back. So we've done these New Jersey best showdowns. We've done 8 or 9 of them for the last 5-6 years. And we did Best Burger maybe 6-7 years ago. And again, I went to 50 places. Half were picked by readers, half were picked by me. So I went to all 50 places all over the state. This isn't, whatever I do, it's not like just North Jersey and Central Jersey. It's all over the state. So every county and all these showdowns, all the counties are represented, all 21 counties. So I went to 50 places, picked 10 finalists, revisited those 10 places, and then picked the winner. And the winner of that showdown was Krug's Tavern in Newark. Sort of a great sort of divey neighborhood bar in the Ironbound, right off Wilson Avenue. If I had but there are many worthy places. There's you can look up those 10 finalists and that burger showdown and see 10, what I consider the 10 best burger places. You also about seafood places in North and Central Jersey. Well, I would skew more toward the shore, places like Point Pleasant. I mean, just in Point Pleasant Beach, you have a couple, you have Spikes right there. You have Reds. I mean, you can walk from one to the other. So there's two really good places right there in Point Pleasant Beach, Central New Jersey. Northern, I can give you some seafood markets, but I don't know about a seafood restaurant that really jumps out in North Jersey. Again, the shore is really where you want to go to. And that actually would be a good ranking because I really haven't, I've done enough stories on seafood restaurants, but not a list or a ranking. So that actually would be a good, now that you mentioned, I think that would be a good ranking, like the 20 best seafood restaurants in New Jersey would be good. Steve, do you have any favorites of your own? Yeah, this is the, or maybe just shore restaurants. I mean, there's so many ways, I've done just about every imaginable category of food, major categories. I mean, there's some things I still like to do, like Indian restaurants. We have a huge Indian population, especially in Central Jersey and Woodbridge and Edison. Little India in the Island section of Woodbridge is a great place for Indian restaurants market. So I'd like to do something on Indian food. Again, seafood would be a great one. I'm going to do something on bars, not exactly food, but it would be popular subject. The best Jersey Shore bars. So there's so many categories. Vegetarian is something I really haven't done. If you remember the Munchmobile, we've done a couple vegetarian trips on the Munchmobile, but that's about it. So that's sort of one sort of hole in my resume, vegetarian restaurants, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, restaurants with gluten-free menus. That would be a good one because I do get asked a fair amount of, can you give me vegetarian options? And I don't often have, I give you places that have been recommended to me, but, not necessarily places that I've been to. So that would be a good one. Vegetarian would definitely be a good one. So Steve, I went to Krug's and some lawyers to go there. Good. And Krug's is, again, this is in downtown Newark in the Ironbound, great burger. The grill is the size of two telephone books. It's a really small grill and the bar isn't that big. They do have outside seating. In the parking lot, they've set out tables there if you can't find a seat at the bar or at one of the tables. But there's so much. There's another thing, another category I'd like to do is just Ironbound. I mean, there's 200 some restaurants and markets and food stores in the Ironbound. And I'd like to spend a couple days there and just sort of do a food crawl, an epic food crawl in the Ironbound, which to me is the greatest ethnic food neighborhood in the state. The most atmospheric. I mean, they're great food neighborhood. You have Little India in Woodbridge, Little India in Jersey City. The Middle Eastern restaurants and markets on Main Avenue in Patterson. But the Ironbound, just for numbers, and it's not just Spanish and Portuguese. And that's a lot of people think it's just Spanish and Portuguese. No, there's a lot of Mexican restaurants, or Italian restaurants, Brazilian, of course. There's a whole sort of United Nations of food there in the Ironbound, and it makes for a great. You don't even have to. Driving is an issue, especially on Ferry Street. It's maybe apart from Hoboken, it's the worst parking challenge neighborhood in the state. But if you are close to a train station, you can take the train into Newark, and the Ironbound, you walk outside Newark Penn Station, the Ironbound's right there. You walk like 5 steps and you're in the Ironbound. So it makes for a great, you can get there by train if you don't want to drive and deal with the hassles parking, because Ferry Street is an issue to park, especially on the weekends. Best grilled, I don't know if are you asking a question, Steve? I don't know. You tell me. I mean, grilled octopus, I did a best Greek restaurant list earlier this year, and I had some great grilled octopus. I mean, that's one of their trademark apps. You could look that list up easy enough, Greek restaurants, and just Google my name. There was a place down in Galloway outside of Atlantic City, Athenian Garden, that made a great grilled octopus. The center of Greek restaurant culture in New Jersey is Bergen County. I mean, there are more Greek restaurants in Bergen County than maybe the rest of the state combined. There are, and again, you go look up that list. I mean, my favorite, probably my three favorite Greek restaurants that I did on that, and I went to like 30, 35. Athenian Garden in Galloway, Mykonos in Ewing, and there was a place up in not Riverdale. It'll come to me, but those were actually each. So one was in Bergen County, one was in Mercer, one was in Atlantic. So those were my three favorite, and they all actually made, ironically, great grilled octopus. I'm just going to give you the name of the place. Corner Grill in Park Ridge was and that was last year. Boy, I thought it was this year. Time flies. But I really, and Greek food, I wish it was. There's a good Greek restaurant where I live, in the town I live. Fortunately, otherwise I'd have to drive pretty far. But Greek Corner Grill, Greek Corner Grill in Park Ridge. Speaking of boardwalk foods, if you ever go to Atlantic City, a restaurant that also made the list was Bill's Hero Souvlaki on the Atlantic City Boardwalk. It's sort of like this little hole in the wall. If anyone's heard of it, if anyone's been there, let me know. But it's just a great place. It's the Greek salad was better than a lot of the upscale Greek restaurants that I've been to. It's open 24/7, which is a treat, and you can take out liquor, which is another. You sit down and you have a drink, or you can take it away with you 24/7. So it's all and then flags from like 50 different nations flying in there. It's just a really cool spot. Bill's Hero Souvlaki on the Atlantic City boardwalk, right by Ripley's, believe it or not. That's at that end of the boardwalk. Ruth asked me if I've reviewed farmers markets. No, I've done listings. I did a book called The Food Lover's Guide to New Jersey some years ago, and I listed pretty much all the farmers markets, but I haven't done any reviews as such for NJ.com. It's a good one. Do you have any favorites? I mean, they're all over the state, obviously. Every town seems to have a weekend farmers market. I was at the West Windsor Farmers Market about a month ago for they were behind Prince of Market Fair. One of the smaller markets, but I was there to interview one of the hot sauce makers. And now they moved. They're now in the summertime. They're at the train station, the Jitney train station. So that was. But again, these farmers markets are all over the state, and they give you opportunities that you can't. A lot of these. The farmers or the specialty food vendors at the farmers markets, they don't have storefronts. So that it's a great opportunity and just a whole open air experience. And you get to talk to the owner too, which is great. You go to the storefront, the owner may or may not be there. So it's a great opportunity to talk to the owner, ask questions, get educated. So yeah, that might be again another great food category. Columbus Market, you mentioned Columbus Columbus Farmers Market on Route 206 in Burlington County. I did a story some years back on, I guess they still call them flea markets. There were the three main ones are Columbus, Englishtown, and Collingwood and Howell off of Route 33 to 34. So those are the three big ones. But there were, in the Columbus Farmers Market, two of my absolute favorite pizzerias, believe it or not, are in the Columbus Farmers Market, flea market, whatever you want to call it. Kate and Al's and Pete's at opposite ends of the farmers market. Yes, I'm talking pizza in a farmers market, in a flea market, really good pizza. So if you get to Columbus again, try it. If you haven't tried those pizzerias, they're very tomatoey. They're sort of like that Trenton tomato pie. They are both highly recommended. Try them both. They're both, I can't pick one or the other, Kate and Al's and Pete's. And I guess the point is you can find great food anywhere. You can find it in the flea market. You can find it on the boardwalk. You can find it by the side of the road. There's some guy smoking barbecue. There's a battered old smoker out in the middle of the Pine Barrens. There's great food everywhere if you know where to look. And if you get good tips, maybe from that guy on NJ.com, it's so easy to keep going back to the same place over and over again, right? I mean, you have a great meal at, Pete's Deli. So 2 weeks later, you go to Pete's Deli again. Maybe the meal's not quite as good, but why keep going back there? Try something else. Maybe surely there's somebody that does a better, say, sandwich than Pete's Deli. It's just a matter of finding that place. So don't, just don't fall victim to the familiar, because that's so easy. Again, a lot of this is discoveries and the surprise that you have when you make a great food discovery, on your own. You just stumble upon a place, you're just driving past somewhere and you're like, that caught my eye, or maybe you saw something on, a billboard or a poster in the window or a sign by the side of the road. Those discoveries are the best ones, those that aren't depending on Yelp or Facebook or whatever else. Again, something you heard about, a friend recommended. Those discoveries are that, and I would certainly urge you, get in the car one day and just sort of drive around and look for places. I mean, it sounds sort of wacky, maybe waste some time, but I guarantee you by the end of the day, you'll find a couple places that you really like and you'll go back to again. Again, all over the state, Sussex County down to Cape May, over to Salem, up to Hudson, and Bergen. There's 21 counties and thousands, hundreds and thousands of good places to eat. Best hot dog stands, Ruth. You appreciate the questions, Ruth. What I am going to do, of course, we all know that next month is National Hot Dog Month. So I did a ranking a couple of years ago, the best hot dog stands in the state. Let me back up first. We did a statewide hot dog showdown about 5 years ago in the winter. That again, it was the same framework. I went to 50 places, picked the 10 best, revisited those 10, picked the best, and the winner of that showdown was Tommy's hot dog stand in Elizabeth's Peterstown section. And almost right next door is Jerry's, which does sort of grilled and deep fried hot dogs. But Tommy's does the Italian hot dogs. That to me is the best Italian hot dog in the state. But when I did the ranking last year or the year before, my number one pick was, probably to no one's surprise, Rutt's Hut in Clifton, which to me has, not just the great deep fried hot dogs, but that sort of signature relish and the atmosphere. A lot of Rutt's, a lot of what I like about Rutt's is the atmosphere. They had a little restaurant in the back, but that's sort of for their regular menu. So a lot of people who go to Rutt's don't know that there's actually a restaurant in the back there where you can sort of order, regular food, not hot dogs. But the front is just, that brick wall exterior. It's been around since the 20s. You have to stand up. Again, in the front section, there's no sit down. You have to sort of stand up or just take it out to your car. Or they have tables outside now too. So that's sort of my number one hot dog place. But I'm going to do another hot dog ranking in a couple weeks, and it very well may be another place because I'll go to. As with all my rankings, I always update them, go to places I haven't been to before. So for the hot dog ranking, I will go to new places or places I haven't been to. Hot dog places are popping up all over the place, really. Somebody told me about a great one in Passaic, so I'm sure I'll go there and we'll see how they do. But hot dogs, I've made this argument before. New Jersey is the center of the hot dog civilization. The Italian hot dog started here. Jimmy Buff's in Newark back in the 30s. The Texas Wiener, which really has which has nothing to do with Texas, actually. Texas Wiener started here, most likely in Patterson. Sabrett's, everyone knows Sabrett's. They're headquartered in New Jersey. Best Provisions, which makes a lot of third-party hot dogs. They're headquartered in Newark. So we have, there are more hot dog stands stands and storefronts in, say, Passaic, Essex, and you want to include Bergen in there, than anywhere else in the world, probably per capita. I mean, it's like it's the hot dog belt. Again, especially Passaic and Essex counties, hot dog stands. And New York, if anyone says New York, I mean, they don't know what they're talking about, because apart from the hot dog vendors on the street, there's very little hot dog storefronts in New York City. Come over the other side of the river, they're everywhere. So, we have, there's one thing, indisputably, we beat New York City on its hot dogs. I mean, there's not even any questions. Yeah, I know Nathan's is in Coney Island, but okay, and that's about it. But New Jersey is the center of hot dog civilization.
I had a question sent to me. Any advice on how we can be better customers at a restaurant or bar?
Restaurants, I would try to find out, first of all, online. And again, I'm not telling you to go to Yelp, although sometimes the suggestions they'll point you to specific dishes. But I would say first of all, go to the restaurant website and the Facebook page before you go to the restaurant. Again, and especially if it's a place you haven't been to before, because they'll tell you, first of all, they'll give you all the ingredients of everything. They'll tell you everything on the menu, specials. You can sort of make up your mind beforehand, because we've all gone to a restaurant, we're given the menu, and then we're sort of looking at it, can I make up our mind? And then you finally pick something that maybe you regret picking later on because you didn't look at it strongly enough, or you didn't see all the ingredients. So do that research beforehand. Check out the menu beforehand. See what the ingredients are. Maybe there's something in one ingredient that you really don't like, that it might be a dish you would have picked, but once you see that ingredient, pick something else. Facebook pages are also the official restaurant Facebook pages. They're always telling you about specials. They're always giving you sort of like inside information. And we just bought these greens from this farmer, and we're making this special salad. And again, you may not get that from the waiter or waitress at the restaurant. So Facebook pages and restaurant websites are really good, sort of give primers on what to eat, what to order. And if it's New Jersey, feel free to email me, because chances are I might have been to the restaurant you're thinking of going to, and I can tell you, like, try this, don't try that. Or this is my experience anyway. I didn't really like this dish at all, but I really like that. Or I know the chef, he used to work here, or she used to work somewhere else. Now they're working at the restaurant you're going to. So, feel free to email or hit me up on Twitter anytime if you have a specific question about a restaurant. I'm thinking of going here. Do you have any recommendations, or do you have a better recommendation? I'm looking for a seafood place in Morris County. I'm thinking of going here, but how about, do you have a better place? And chances are I will. There was another part of that question. Did I answer that, or was that? Again, try to resist. And again, I'm not anti-Yelp, but try to resist Yelp, because a lot of people. We had one of our editors a couple of years ago. He was down the shore, so he asked me, "Where would you go?" I'm in this town. I'm not going to mention his name. I don't want to embarrass him, but he said, "I'm going to be in this town. Where should I go?" So I said, "You got to go here." And I think it was Point Pleasant Beach, and I mentioned this, Spikes and Reds, which are both I really like. He ended up going somewhere else. Why? Because it was highly rated on Yelp. I didn't know if he had a good experience or not, but why ask me if you're just going to rely on Yelp? Again, go if you're anywhere in the country. Your first choice of advice, apart from friends who live there, of course. I mean, they're always the best. But go to the local food writer. They're online somewhere. Find out their favorite places, their reviews of specific places. Again, they're not being paid to write positive reviews. They pay for their food, or they should be paying for their food. They have no again, no horse in the race. So they're really the best sources wherever whatever part of the country you go to. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. If you want to hit me up for suggestions on where to go, food category, please email me or on Twitter at Pete Genovese. I'll get back to you right away, I promise.
I had another question come in. What are some of the colorful characters you've met in your travels throughout the state?
No, boy, I mean, they're everywhere. The guys who run Rutt's Hut, the guys who Sam's Pizza Palace in Wildwood. Actually, I'll walk by there today. There's a colorful cast of characters. Actually, the sort of the patriarch of the family of Sam's Pizza Palace, he actually just passed away a month or so ago. Sam himself. It's just seems like the boardwalk sort of attracts a lot of. You sort of have to have a sort of personality, or if you're an owner there, you sort of have to have the personality to begin with to work the boardwalk. To entice people, walking by to stop in. But characters. I mean, they're everywhere. Shannon, who runs Point Pleasant Beach Lobster Company restaurants, Point Pleasant Beach Lobster Company, which is retail and wholesale, but then she has a restaurant in downtown Point Pleasant Beach. I stopped there, I did this Jersey Shore walk last year, so I stopped there one night and talked to her. She's very entertaining. So they're everywhere. The crew up at, again, they were profiled in my Jersey State of Mind book, the Truck Stop Diner up in Kearney. The owner was sort of this sort of calm and collected guy. He's sort of seen it all. A lot of these diner owners are sort of jaded. They've seen and heard everything. But his crew was funny, and the kind they sort of that truck stop is in the middle of the truck stop area. So you basically get truckers, and then the one or two, the few and far between office. Somebody who might work at a warehouse nearby, or an office worker, or somebody who just stumbled into the place. It's not a place where you'll find suits, basically. Truck stop diner in Kearney. So, but I found I spent a couple of days there for my book, and there's just no end of colorful characters with interesting stories to tell. Of course, diners are great for that period. There's always somebody with a story to tell in a diner. So.
All right. I don't see any more questions. So is there anything you want to take us out on?
Well, watch for the, again, the best boardwalk food ranking. That should be this weekend. Best ice cream stands. That'll be next weekend. And July 4th is already next weekend, amazingly. If you want to throw in a couple minutes here, you want to tell me about your favorite ice cream stand, now's your chance. Or email me, pgenovese@njaadvancemedia.com, or Twitter @PeteGenovese. For any kind of tip, not just ice cream or boardwalk food, just anything you want to suggest, a favorite place of yours or a new place you discovered. I'm not the one making all these discoveries on my own. A lot of times people are telling me where to go. I got a couple places that people recommended on Twitter in Wildwood that I'll hit up today on the boardwalk. So I'm not finding out all these, I don't want to make it sound like I'm the Wizard of Oz here, behind the curtain, thinking of all these, finding out about all these places on my own. All food writers depend on tips and recommendations from people. So again, feel free to send me any and all recommendations, or again, questions about where to eat, recommendations I might have for good places to eat. Again, all over the state. I cover the whole state. And one last thing on again, I started off by saying all my Rutgers University books now 50% off at Rutgers University, a special sale, free shipping on top of it. It's gonna be way cheaper than anything the price you find on Amazon. So, Jersey Diners, New Jersey State of Mind, my Jersey Shore book, etc. You can get them all on Rutgers University Press right now. So I'm on my way to eat boardwalk food. Hopefully some of it will be good. You'll find out this weekend when that list runs. And again, ice cream ranking is next weekend. There's hot dogs in a couple weeks. I'll do something on, hopefully on Indian food, vegetarian, seafood restaurants. I think these are all definitely possibilities as the summer goes on. And if you have a category recommendation, you should do a list of such and such, please, again, let me know. Email pgenovese@njadvancemedia.com or Twitter @PeteGenovese. So unless there are any further questions, anyone? I'm still here. It's a beautiful day outside. It'd be a nice day to take the top down on my Jeep and head down to, I think I'm going to Seaside and Wildwood. So it'd be a good day to go up the Parkway. Of course, we all know you don't want to go up the Parkway on the weekend, on a Saturday or Sunday. So today would be a good day to do that boardwalk list. Again, it was great being here. Cindy, if you're there, thanks for inviting me.
I was just going to come on and tell you thank you for some of these recommendations, and guys, get the book and see what's in there. And I was going to send you. I like Tooties. I'm a purist though. I just do the twist. I'm not big on sundaes and that, but I do love Tooties ice cream place in New Egypt, New Jersey. So I don't know if you've ever been there, but
yes,
it's good. It's got nice creamy ice cream, and a small looks like a large. So you got your price for your money too.
I drove by there over the weekend. You also have, it's of course Emery's Berry Farm, one of my favorite, maybe
Yes.
the best.
Yep. I was there the other day.
Best, the mixed, the trifecta pie, which is has the 3 different berries. I think they're the best pie. South Jersey. There's a lot. Again, and that's in the middle of nowhere. Emery's.
Yes, it is. It really is. I have a friend that lives right down from them, so that's why I go down there a little bit. But it is in the middle of nowhere. If you take the back way down the shore,
539.
539. I like that ride. I like that ride to Point Pleasant. So I like to take the 539 and go the back way.
I was just on there the other day, coming down all the way from Allentown, all the way down to where I live, which is further south. It's a great ride. Bikers love it, of course. Lucy, of course, toward the end of 539 in Warren Grove, you have Lucille's. It's a great luncheonette right on 539 in Warren Grove, which is Ocean County, Stafford Township. It's a great place to get sort of hearty country breakfast, big portions, and they make good pies there too. Lucille's and Warren Grove. There's a couple places on 539 and a whole bunch of Wawas, and great town. Allentown, one of my favorite small towns.
It's a good small town.
It's a great Tuckerton at the other end. Tuckerton Seaport. One of my favorite Greek restaurants, Costa's Grill, is in Tuckerton. Again, great food all over the state. I mean, don't let anybody tell you that New Jersey is sort of this food wasteland, or that you can't find good restaurants in Salem County or Cumberland County or Gloucester County or Sussex County. It's easy to find a great restaurant in Hudson, Essex, Monmouth. There's a million restaurants. You're bound to find good ones, but they're all 21 counties. Again, look at any of my lists. They cover the whole state, all counties, whatever category, pizza, cheesesteaks, burgers, Greek food, whatever. Look at those lists. You'll find recommendations all over the state.
Well, thanks again, Pete. We really appreciate it.
Cindy, thanks for having me. Thanks, everyone.
All right.